Welcome to our national press conference with Windows in the World survivors, Rock United, and restaurant workers across the country to commemorate the 20th anniversary of 9/11. I am Anthony Advincula, Director of Communications for Rock United. Thank you everyone for being here with us today. Today, 20 years after 9/11, we ask, where are now our surviving workers at Windows and the World? With the ongoing pandemic, how are they doing? What has 9/11 taught us about current challenges in the restaurant industry? We are truly honored to have with us our brothers and sisters from Windows in the World. Since 9/11, believe it or not, we almost have never heard of their stories. Now they will tell us about their stories of survival, courage, and sacrifice. As personal as it gets, I have no doubt that this may be an emotional event for them. Some of them have already moved out of New York City, and their kids, most of them very young at that time, have all now grown up. But there's the common thread between them. They still remember vividly what they experienced that day, September 11, 2001. First, we will hear from Dr. Sekou, a surviving worker from Windows of the World and now President and CEO of Rock United. Dr. Sekou will share his story about 9/11 and his continued fight for economic and social justice and equity for restaurant workers. Dr. Sekou, please.
Thank you, Anthony. I was employee number 12495 at Windows on the Wall. I was that number that reflected who I was at Windows on the Wall each time I clock in and clock out. For nearly 3 years, I was a cook, dishwasher, sous chef, you name it. And I did practically everything in the back of the house. The one most beautiful thing that I will always cherish is that we work like a family. I truly love my job at Windows on the Wall. I made true lasting friendship with so many of my coworkers. We even spent time together with our families, even on weekends. One day, my good friend, Moises Rivas, and I swapped shift. He worked in my place on Tuesday, September 11, 2001. Call it destiny or luck. That saved my life, but I lost my dear friend. After 9/11, I was bearing this guilt, something that I still could not describe up to this day. I always think of Moises and all my friends and co-workers at Windows on the Wall whom I lost that day. I thought I could no longer work in the restaurant industry. The jacket, uniform, the smell of vegetables, meat and desserts, all of that reminds me of a 9/11 tragedy. But at that time, I saw how restaurant workers struggle. They face financial instability, lack of healthcare, few or no workplace right, and many of them have no safety net. I too could not find a job in a restaurant, so I decided to drive a cab in the city so that I could make ends meet for myself and my family. More than 12,000 restaurant jobs in New York City vanished after the September 11 attack, and by December, nearly two-thirds of restaurant workers still didn't have a job. It was the time that the Windows on the Wall survivors, including myself, organized against our former employer. Soon after that, the Restaurant Opportunity Centers of New York was born, with our mission to fight for living wages, improve working conditions, and better job protection for restaurant workers. I'm currently the president and CEO of Rock United. Now, with the unprecedented public health crisis that we're facing, I have seen various similarities of the impact of 9/11 on restaurant workers. Since early March 2020, thousands of businesses have closed down as the coronavirus rapidly spread in New York City and across the country. Millions of restaurant workers have become unemployed and still faced with a lack of healthcare, eviction or foreclosure, and mounting bills with no relief in sight. But with effective leadership and policies to address the welfare, health, security, and job protection of our restaurant workers, as well as continued action for our restaurant workers, we will see a post-COVID-19 rebound. We have been working tirelessly with restaurant workers, our community partners and allies, and government agencies, such as the Department of Labor, to provide a voice and a stronger platform for all restaurant workers to achieve racial, gender, and economic equity in the restaurant industry. My children are now all grown up. I have told them about what I experienced during 9/11 and have taught them about the lesson that I've learned from such a terrifying situation. 3 weeks ago, I drove my oldest daughter to college. She was born on October 3rd, 2001, meaning 3 weeks after the tragedy. I was a proud and happy father. It really made me realize that 20 years since 9/11 have been a long time. And what a journey it has been. I always go to the World Trade Center Memorial Site and pray for my friends and co-workers. For those who don't know, it is a Block 67. I will always remember them for as long as I live. And thank you much. Anthony, back to you.
Thank you, Dr. CV, for sharing your story with us, and thank you for your continued leadership and support for all restaurant workers. At this moment, we would like to show some of the photos of Windows in the World workers, including CV's employee ID. Dan, please show the pictures. Thank you, Dan. A couple of housekeeping. We have about 30 media members of the media here. So for the reporters in this call, if you have a question, please post your questions at any given time on the chat box, and you will be asked to unmute yourself when you ask your question during the question and answer portion. Our next speaker is another surviving worker at Windows in the World. She will share with us today her story of what she did at Windows in the World and her memories of her co-workers she lost on 9/11. She will speak in Spanish, and my colleague Teo Reyes will do the interpretation in English. Let's welcome Rosa Pana.
¿Qué le digo de ese día o del tiempo que duré allí trabajando? Yo trabajé iba a tener 2 años trabajando ya en la torre, en Windows on the World.
I spent 2 years working at Windows on the World.
Y para mí fue de todos los trabajos que yo he tenido, ese fue el mejor.
Of all the jobs I've ever had, that was the best one I've ever had.
Porque habíamos gente de toda parte del mundo y éramos como una familia.
We had people from all around the world, and we were like a big family.
Yo trabajaba en el departamento del uniforme, del tailor. Yo hacía alteraciones, hacía jaque y atendía a los trabajadores, eso que lo conocía todos.
I was in the tailoring department. I was a seamstress, and I helped with uniforms and jackets, and I helped all of the staff and supported them with their uniforms.
Y yo casi tenía el problema que llegaba tarde a los trabajos o faltaba mucho, pero ahí yo nunca llegué tarde, me faltaba.
So some people had trouble getting to work late or missing jobs, but I was never late, and I never missed a day there.
Siempre estaba contenta, éramos como una familia. Entonces lo bonito era que me habíamos de toda parte del mundo.
I was very happy working there. We were like a family, and like I said, we were from all over the world.
Y ese día que pasó del 9/11 fue terrible para todos.
That day of 9/11, it was terrible. I mean, it was terrible. I know it was terrible for everybody.
Sí. Yo tenía que entrar a las 10 ese día, porque yo trabajaba a las 9 de la mañana, pero ese día me habían puesto para entrar a las 10.
I was scheduled to go in at 10 that morning. I normally would go in at 9 a.m., but for some reason they changed my schedule that day to come in at 10.
So, yo iba en el camino cuando se cayeron la torre.
I was on my way there when the towers fell.
Y fue terrible la experiencia. Bueno, honestamente, yo no he podido superar eso.
It was a terrible experience, and honestly, I haven't been able to get over it.
Y me costó mucho trabajo. Yo tuve casi 9 años cogiendo terapia mental. Y me costó mucho trabajo poder recuperarme, pero después de eso, más nunca ya yo he vuelto a ser como yo era, de alegre.
So it's taken me a lot of work to really recover. I had to take psychotherapy for 9 years, but I've never been the same. I've never been as happy of a person as I was back then.
Yo siempre estaba alegre, cantaba mucho, me gustaba mucho la música y eso se fue ya. Yo no le doy mente a la música ni a nada.
I was a very happy person. I'd love to sing, listen to music, but now I really don't listen to music anymore.
Cuando comenzaron a poner la noticia ya a la semana, yo cogí todos los periódicos, todas las noticias, y lo tengo guardado aquí, principalmente de los compañeros de trabajo, todas las informaciones de ellos.
All the information from that week, all the newspapers during that week, I gathered and saved them all, and I still have them all. I'm keeping all of them with all the information about everyone who died that day.
El tiempo ha pasado, pero uno tiene que seguir para adelante, pero ya no hay esa alegría. Yo no me siento ya como antes, estoy más recogida. No tengo relación así de gente, amistades y eso ya.
And you have to move forward. You have to pick yourself up and move forward. But I don't have the same type of relationships I had before. I don't have the same type of friendships, I don't have that same happiness in my life that I used to.
Ese día tuve una experiencia con mi hijo más joven, Jason. Él estaba en una escuela que está cerca de la torre y yo le había dicho, ese día es su cumpleaños. Y le dije, Jason, vete para la escuela, porque cogía de libre su día, su cumpleaños, para estar con sus amistades. Entonces, cuando pasaron lo de la torre, yo le pedí a Dios, ay, que Jason no haya ido, por favor, que Dios, mi mente llorando en la calle. Tuve...
So I didn't experience that day with my younger son Jason. With my son Jason, he went to school near the World Trade Center, and I told him to make sure to go to school. It was his birthday, and I told him to make sure to go to school, to get there early. And then after everything happened, I just hoped in my heart that he hadn't actually gone to school that day.
Como le dije, me ha costado mucho trabajo superarlo, pero cuando llegan estos días así de septiembre, eso vuelve otra vez todo con la mente.
So when September comes around, all of this comes back, flooding back into my mind. I try to overcome it all, but it comes back in September.
Sí. Después que pasó todo, comencé en la organización donde conocí a mi hermano Civil y a otros compañeros también que estábamos en esa organización trabajando en Rock, New York.
After all of this happened, I went to work. I went to support Civi and my other friends at Rock, New York.
Y en el 2007 tuve un accidente y no pude volver. Cuando me me dieron como un parte tiempo, como un part-time. Entonces no pude ya hacer el trabajo que yo hacía. Yo era office manager, tenía que estar encargada de todo. Cuando había un meeting, cuando había protesta, yo tenía que organizar todo.
So I was the office manager, and I had to organize the meetings and the protests. But after I had an accident, I can only work part-time.
So ya yo no podía hacer el mismo trabajo que yo hacía antes, so me dejaron ir. No pude volver a trabajar ya. Y nada, desde que pasó todo eso, ya la vida de uno no es igual. ¿Entiendes?
I couldn't keep doing the same work that I was doing, but you know, that's after these things happen, your life doesn't return back to normal. It's not the way it used to be before.
Y nada, éramos como una familia, todos los que trabajábamos ahí, éramos felices. Era un sitio era para mí era tan bueno, contento, todo. Yo nunca faltaba. Y todito de tantos diferentes países, ¿no? Éramos como una familia grande, ¿entiendes? Y entonces cuando pasó la desgracia, yo sé que ya todos los que estamos vivos no somos igual que antes.
And it was such a, you know, it was such a great time. We all had such a good time together. I never missed a day of work. It was such a happy place. And then after this disgraceful event, you know, I know none of us are the same again. None of us were the same after that.
Yo no sé ya ni qué más poder explicarle. Salimos para adelante como hemos podido y eso. Pero la mente y el corazón ya no es lo mismo. Y esto es, cuando viene el 9/11, recordando como el principio. Y mire los años, 20 años. Y no se ha podido uno superar completamente.
So we try to move forward the best we can, but you know, your heart and your mind is not the same. And when September 11th comes around, it all comes back into the memory, and it becomes difficult to overcome it once again.
Sí. So, no sé qué más podría decirle de...
I don't know what else I can add about that day.
Thank you, Rosa.
Gracias.
Gracias a ustedes por tenerme en la entrevista.
We truly appreciate you, and thank you for sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
Now, I would like to hand it over to Albert Lee. For 15 years, he was a server at Windows in the World. He now lives in Queens, New York, and works in the Chinatown district. Albert, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me on this truly special occasion to honor my coworker who lost their life in Windows on the World. From 1986 to 2001, since I immigrated from Hong Kong, I was a server at Windows on the World. I started working there when I was in my early 30s. I worked in a dining room. I really enjoyed my time with my coworker there. It was almost my entire life at that time. Every year, when we remember 9/11 anniversary, it makes me very emotional. It is a reminder for me to be thankful and grateful that I am still here, alive and well, but it's almost repeat the trauma of losing my friends and coworker at Windows on the World. On September 11, 2001, my life was saved because my shift did not start until 5 p.m. Maybe it was my own destiny to to survive. Since that day, my life has changed, completely changed it. I have to carry the burden of knowing that hundreds of my coworkers died that day. Each time I think of them and what happened, I can't help to help not to cry. I really love working in a restaurant since 9/11, even though I miss my experience working in a restaurant. I have always tried to look for other jobs. Perhaps it was my way of coping from the tragedy. I'm now a licensed real estate agent in New York City. 20 years after 9/11, so many things have changed. Now I'm 65, but the restaurant workers still have very limited job protections, especially during this pandemic. Many people still don't want to go to a restaurant because of the coronavirus. So restaurant workers don't earn enough tips. I hope that employer will provide their restaurant worker the job protection that they deserve. The cost of living also going up, the rent, the food, the utility. So I hope that employer will also increase the wages of their restaurant workers. At this moment, I would like to ask everyone to honor my friends and coworker. For that 9/11. Please have a moment of silence. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Albert. We can't thank you enough for sharing your story. Our heartfelt appreciation to you. Today, we also have restaurant workers with us from Michigan, New Orleans, Illinois, and Washington, D.C. to California, Tennessee, Pennsylvania, and New York to mark the 20th anniversary of 9/11 and Rock United's 20 years in service. Yes, Rock was founded amid the grief following 9/11, but we have come far since then, activating more than 500 workers nationwide. Since we won't have enough time to accommodate all of them, we prepared a short video of them for you.
You know, there's strength in numbers. That's why you need to go ahead and be part of Rock United. There is power in numbers.
To be able to actually make change and do the things, like, we all complain about things, but Rock actually kind of empowers us to be able to do something about them. And I think that's huge.
Rock's helped me overcome the fear of speaking out for the rights I deserve. be treated fairly, to be listened to, and to provide a living wage to support my family.
ROC is the organization that will be your advocate. They will be your champion. They will make sure that you get everything that you are fairly entitled to. They will make sure that you are not harassed and abused at work. They will advocate and they will fight for workers to have a just and fair work environment.
I think ROC is so important to me in that it uplifts the workers, and all of the work that ROC does is to contribute to making workers more autonomous, having their own life, so that we can continue to build a more equitable and loving and positive workplace for all of us.
ROC is like a family. You're all here to support. You're part of this all family and community that we all need in this world and on our journey.
Oh yeah, I'm supposed to. We get ready to fight. I got my bicycle on. We are getting ready to fight. I'm glad.
Congratulations, ROC United, on 20 years of supporting restaurant workers across the country. And here's to 20 more.
Thank you, ROC United members. We truly exist because of you, so thank you very much. Our final speaker is a very special guest. Her husband, a cook at Windows in the World, died on 9/11. This is the very first time that she will publicly share her story. Please all welcome Hadijatu Karamoko. Hadi, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Hadijatu Karamoko. They call me Kadi. I'm 51, mother of 3. My late husband, Abdul Karim Traore, a cook at the Windows on the Wall, died on September 2001. Karim and I met in our native country, the Ivory Coast. In 1992, hoping to find a better life, he left the Ivory Coast and immigrated by himself to New York City. The plan was that after a few years, my daughter, who was 8 years old at that time, and I will follow him soon. In New York, through his friends, he found his job at Windows on the Wall. He was happy and proud of it. Every day he dedicated himself to his job. He was once nominated as one of the best cooks in New York City. 5 years later, in 1997, I followed him to America. He was one of the happiest moments when he and I were reunited together. But our daughter was left behind in the Ivory Coast. Our dream was to bring our daughter as soon as possible, but immigration process was long and slow. My daughter, unfortunately, did not get the opportunity to meet her father. That day, September 11, 2001, he left home around 4 in the morning. I was awake. I remember watching him while he was getting ready for work. Like any other day, we exchanged a few words while I was still in the bed. And then I heard the door close. I did not know if it was the last time that I was going to see him and hear his voice. My late husband, Abdul Karim, was a hardworking man and a great provider to me and our children. He had 2 jobs. Every single day, he delivered a newspaper before dawn, and by 7:30, he had to be at his full-time job at the windows on the wall. While in New York City, I gave birth to two wonderful boys. When September 11 happened, our middle son was 2.5 years old, and our youngest son was barely 1. That was the next day of his birthday. He was born on September 10, 2001. 2000, I'm sorry. So my late husband had dreamed for our family that someday we will all be together, own a house, and send our children to good school. Around 8:40 that day, while I was getting the children ready and prepare myself for my English class, the phone rang. It was my late husband's nephew on the phone, checking if he did report to job that day. And I said yes. He told me that an airplane has hit the first tower on the water center and asked me to watch the TV. I have never been more scared on my life when I saw on the TV that a lot of smoke was coming out of the water center. Everything became dark around me. I tried to call him on his cell phone, but he was not answering. My English was very limited on that time, so I did not know what to do. My late husband nephew who called me that day decided to come to join me. His brother, his friend, including Dr. Sekou and other friends, come by me and support me on that day. By the time they arrived, another airplane had hit the second tower. I started to panic. I started crying, don't know what to do, and I called them again. I continued to call him the whole day and no answer. I did not hear his voice again. Until now, I still could not describe how I felt. That day, it was a horrible day in my life. 20 years have already passed since September 11, 2001. In 2019, when I was 49, I decided to leave my job as a nurse assistant at Jacobi Medical Center in the Bronx. I wanted to do something different. Our children are doing great. Our daughter, now 28, was finally able to come to America. She's currently living with me in the Bronx. She has worked as a cook in a restaurant in New Jersey. Our second son is now finishing his PhD in chemistry at University of Maryland. And our younger son is a senior at NYU in Brooklyn in computer science. I'm so proud of my children, but I'm sad that Karim did not get a chance to see our children grow and celebrate the accomplishment. I'm sure he's always proud of them. I'm always sad that our children did not also get a chance to see him and know how great a man the father was. These days, people will ask me, how are you? I said, I'm good, but every time I look back and think of what happened, I had to say that it will not be the same again. It will never be easy. There is something that I will always be like that. I feel like it will never be completed again. But I always say I'm okay. I pray all I pray all day for my late husband and all other victims. May God grant them in heaven. I always say thank you to the government, to my late husband friend, including Dr. Sekou, for their support, his parent, my friend, the restaurant co-worker, the union. I really appreciate it. God bless you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Kadi. Thank you very much for your sacrifice and for your bravery through all these years. Now let's proceed to the question and answer portion. I can see that we have a few questions that have been posted in the chat box. Our first question actually comes from Chris Ragaber of the Associated Press. Chris.
Hi, thank you everyone for doing this. I wanted to see if Albert or Rosa or Hadijatu would be willing to say what advice or what they would say to restaurant workers today that are enduring through the pandemic. What could you tell them based on your experience, if you would like to share? Thank you.
I'm not sure, but I will say to the restaurant co-worker that it's not during for the pandemic. I'm not sure because I've been in the house for 2 years now. I would say to take a courage to continue doing what they're doing, but at the same time, think about their health too. Think about themselves and while they're doing the job, and have a courage. That's all I can say. I'm sorry, I can't say more than that.
How about you, Albert and Rosa? And Teo, if you can translate the question to Rosa.
Rosa, la pregunta había sido para todas las personas que están aquí, que sobrevivieron el 9/11, ¿qué consejos le podrían dar a trabajadores del restaurante hoy día que están sobreviviendo a la pandemia? Y tiene su teléfono en mute. No le escuchamos porque está en...
¿Y ahora?
Ahora sí, ahora sí.
Ok, escúcheme. Bueno, yo le diría a ellos todo que como está pasando, como está el mundo ahora, es mucho más difícil que antes de que se cayeran las torres. Que Dios lo cuide y que puedan seguir su trabajo como lo hacen con amor y que Dios lo proteja y que tienen que estar unidos toda la familia, solo trabajadores, los que sean buenos compañeros, como pasaba cuando vivíamos en la torre, estábamos en la torre trabajando. Y el mundo está ahora al revés. Le deseo mucha suerte, que Dios los proteja a todos y que puedan seguir adelante con la frente alta en su trabajo y más cuando lo hacen con amor, porque el mundo ha cambiado mucho, ya la vida no es como antes. A mí me pasan semanas y yo no salgo nada más que a ver a los doctores, porque ya no me siento segura en la calle. Pero le deseo todo lo mejor, que echen para adelante todo lo que puedan y que hagan su trabajo con amor. Y de buena suerte y que Dios los proteja a todos.
Things are a lot more difficult now for workers than they used to be. The world's upside down, and may God protect and watch over everyone who's working, all the restaurant workers, and they really need to stick together with their family to protect themselves and try to move forward.
Thank you. Albert, Would you want to answer the question?
Okay. Continue what you're doing. You can, like the restaurant worker, we should be like, or get vaccinated. And, you also talk to your employer to get like a more protection for the employee. So don't get sick. That's most important. And then, and also talk to the employer, see if you can increase your wages. I know a lot of workers, they're underpaid. So we should fight for this.
Thank you.
I was wondering if I could do a quick follow-up, just real quickly. I just wondered if anyone of the three felt that that the struggles and suffering that they went through on 9/11, was that recognized at that time? Did you feel that people understood what had happened to you and to the restaurant there? Thank you.
Can you please translate it first before
Sí, la pregunta fue si piensa que lo que usted sobrevivió, lo que sufrió en 9/11 fue reconocido por el público general, y que si fue reconocido lo que había sucedido con el restaurante ahí. Si usted piensa que el público reconoció lo que todos ustedes sufrieron.
Bueno, muchas personas han apoyado y eso, ¿sabes? Y con la cuestión esa de los trabajos de los restaurantes, y no sé si todo volverá a ser como antes, y más que yo no salgo casi, no, pero esperando en Dios que todo pueda seguir bien y que puedan tener suerte y luchar para adelante, que no pase otra desgracia.
Many people supported us, and hopes people will support restaurant workers today as well, so that they can move forward and get by.
If I may, I was also a survivor of 9/11. There have been, after 9/11, a system set up in New York City at Pier 54, where they have multiple services provided to restaurant workers. And I can say that at that time, I had at least 1 year of my rent paid by different charities that were set up, the Red Cross, Catholic charities, and many other charities. You go to one place, they will pay your rent. In another place, they will give you voucher for food. In other places, they will give you money. And Red Cross at that time then provided several $1,000s. And I also have a place on the west side where they were even helping folks with mortgage payment. That was a Riverside church. So it was a lot of systems in place. And that's how ROC started. We're coming together to share those informations and making sure that if I go to a place and get my rent paid, we go to, there was a place that the union had set up. We exchange those information. So everybody will come. There is a board where we provided those informations to each other.
Okay.
But what I can say about, because I saw a question here, most of the services were at Pier 54 because of a heightened security level. Getting into Pier 54 wasn't that easy. You are police, immigration, FBI, all of them were there, including the charity. So you are undocumented, you don't have papers. You couldn't dare to go there, right? So a lot of people were left out.
Thank you, CD. Albert, I know you need to jump off at 2 o'clock. Do you mind sharing your answer with us?
because the speaker voice is not really loud. So, Chris, can you repeat the question?
Sure. Just wanted to see if you felt that after 9/11, the suffering and impact on restaurant workers had been recognized at the time, given that it was such a big event. Wasn't sure if people who'd gone through what you went through with Windows on the World had felt recognized after 9/11, or that it was understood what had happened.
I didn't get it.
You didn't get the question, Albert. Why don't we move to the next one, so we will give an opportunity for everyone to ask their questions. The next one is from Edwin Martinez. Edwin works for El Diario.
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Edwin.
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. This is really great and it's also important to us. So basically, I would like to ask you if you think that through the work that your organization has been doing, workers have been receiving all that they deserve and conquer the rights that the people who work in restaurants deserve. So, lo que quiero preguntar es si creen que con el trabajo que la organización de ustedes está haciendo, han logrado también como impulsar que haya muchos derechos de los trabajadores de los restaurantes que se cumplan y pues conquistar también muchos de estos derechos o todavía falta un camino por recorrer. ¿Cómo ven esta situación? How do you see this situation?
Yo voy a llamar al señor Teofilo, que es director de programas aquí a Rock United, si él puede decir algo. Teo.
Certainly, yes. I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done. I mean, I think we can look at things that we have achieved over the years as a result of the tragedy of the World Trade Center and the growth of Rock New York and then Rock United. You know, we have seen minimum wage increases around the country and paid sick leave laws passed, but wage theft is still one of the restaurants are still one of the primary sources of wage theft in the country, and we see massive amounts of sexual harassment and other forms of discrimination. So there's a lot of work that needs to happen. But one thing that, you know, if we can say something positive is that finally, you know, restaurant workers are starting to get a little bargaining power so they can force wages to go a little bit higher. We need to pass federal legislation so everyone has a $15 minimum wage and everyone has access to paid leave. And we're supporting restaurant workers in those efforts, but there's a long way to go still.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Our next question is from Urban News, Moshin Zafir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, our hearts and prayers are with those who lost their loved one in the windows of the world and World Trade Centers on 9/11. And my question is, we know 73 workers lost their lives on that day. And may I know the survivors? Does any one of the survivors still work in any sort of capacity in Freedom Tower? And you people, the survivors, have you ever been to Freedom Towers, and what's your feelings and thoughts when you've been to that place?
Hadi, do you want to answer it first so you would have the opportunity to share your thoughts?
Oh, I thought what the question was for the workers.
Or the survivors.
The survivors. I mean, can you come again with the question, please? I'm sorry.
I believe the question was, do you have the chance to go to the Freedom Tower? And then when you are there, how do you feel each time you visit the Freedom Tower?
Oh, yes. Yes, every year. Sometimes I go with the children twice a year. And then, yes, every time we go there, I mean, I'm feeling like it's happened, that accident happened that day. Yes. I'm feeling horrible with the kids. We feel like it's just happened, and the pains come again, and we end up praying all the time when we go there. That's what happened to us. Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I would like to say a few words. And so, even though 20 years after that event tragedy, so I still can go to the site.
Oh.
So, you know, I made the appointment, you know, to by the very beginning, there was online, make the appointment to go to the memorial site. So finally, I canceled it myself. Since now, I still have my foot step into the World Trade Center area. So I just can't do it. Yeah. I just can't do it. Yeah.
Yeah, like Kadi,
it's,
you know,
traumatic. Like you know, I can do it. You know, I can walk by maybe City Hall, but I never did. I can't go to the pool, you know, the area. I don't know why, but I just can't do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, like Kadi, it is always a very painful moment for me to go there. I do Black 67, and I will say why it is difficult. For most people, it is a memorial site. For me, every single name has a story. When I look at the one name, I know this one, I spoke to him, his mother, his kids, what he was doing. I look at the other one, I know he has a brother. There are two brothers and two sisters. And as those were three in their family, they all died there, you know. And each name has a story that I remember, and it is vivid. So it is not an easy thing to go just to look at names and the memorial site. It will bring memories that you don't want to resurface. But every time that I go, and I will tell you, it is a Block 67. This is where the windows on the wall workers' names are.
Thank you, Stephen.
And I want to add something also. So when we go there, we feel like the accident happened that day, but at the same time, we feel close to him. We feel close to him, like we seen him, especially when the water is falling down, the flow of the water, and you see the name, you touch the name. So we feel like, right, we see him, you know. At the same time, we sad, and at the same time, we happy, like we see him. So that's what happened that's why I like to go there sometimes twice a year. And, you know, we just pass by, like we be closer to him.
Yeah. Thank you. We actually have 3 more questions, but I don't think, since we only have 2 minutes left, I want to ask our speakers to share their last messages with the attendees. If you have any thoughts that you want to share with us, I want to give you the opportunity to do so. Let's start with Dr. Sebi.
Very quickly, what I will say is for all the restaurant workers who are suffering because of coronavirus, it is to say that at the time when you think you've reached the rock bottom in your life, there is always a light to look forward to. this is where I am comparative to 20 years ago. So there are possibilities that are infinite. You just need to believe in yourself that the light is out there. You need to seek it.
Thank you. Miss Rosa?
¿Sí entendió la pregunta? La pregunta es qué mensaje tiene para, ahorita terminando el evento, qué mensaje tiene para todos los participantes.
Bueno, yo le quiero desear suerte a todos. Y quería decir también que yo, desde que se cayeron la torre y eso, yo no he podido volver más allá abajo. He tratado, pero no he podido llegar. Y espero que todos que puedan seguir su vida bien, los que perdieron sus familiares, todos los hermanos que perdimos ahí, eso, que puedan superarse y echar para adelante. Y que Dios los bendiga a todos. Yo no he tenido la fuerza de volver a ir a donde estaban las torres. No he ido más nunca por ahí. Y he querido ir, pero no he podido, no he tenido la fuerza.
So
Le deseo buena suerte a todos.
I haven't had the strength to go back and visit. I've wanted to go visit the site of the towers, but I haven't been able to. I simply haven't had the strength to do that. But I want to, wish everyone that, that lost family members and everyone that everyone from that day, I want to wish them the best, that God may care for them and that they can overcome all the challenges that they face. And I wish everybody the best of luck.
Thank you. Albert?
Hi. So I think, take care of yourself, everyone. I just, continue do what you're doing. Our friends and colleagues here, So yeah, because I'm very emotional, so I, just kind of, I don't know what to say anymore.
Thank you, Albert. Miss Kadi? I think you're muted, Kadi.
Yes, I am it now. What I can say, I wanted to say for all the survivors that, like I said, to take courage, and then keep doing what they were doing. I don't know if I'm in the same, we're on the same size, and then especially this during the pandemic, try to protect themselves. That's the most important thing to do, and having courage, keep going forward. Don't be discouraged. Don't be, emotionally down. Just keep doing. Life is going forward. Just keep going. That's all I can say. And then I always thank all of them for what they're doing, what they're suffering, what they went through. And until now, I know it's not the same thing, but I want to tell them just to continue what they're doing, continue going forward. That's all I can say.
Thank you, Scotty. On behalf of Rock United, since it's already 2 o'clock or past 2, I would like to extend my deepest appreciation and gratitude to our speakers, receiving Ms. Rosa, Ms. Scotty, Albert, to our reporters and members of Rock United. Thank you all. We will send the recording of the event. This press conference is now adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, brother.